Welcome to the Reality Revolution. Today is a wonderful day on the podcast. I have Satyen Raja. Satyen Raja is the founder and CEO of the multi-million-dollar transformational academy, Warriorsage. Satyen has impacted over 100,000 students from over 50 countries around the world. After 35 years of rigorous study and practice in both creating enlightened business growth and developing higher consciousness, Satyen works privately with CEOs, high-impact individuals, executive teams who have mastered accomplishment in the financial and public world, but now want a deeper balance, illumination, and self-realized equilibrium that he calls peak existence. A remarkable living synthesis of Eastern wisdom and Western practicality, Satyen combines the power of the warrior and wisdom of the sage to lead leaders worldwide into their highest self-knowledge, self-expression, and impact. Welcome to the podcast, Satyen. How's it going?
It's great being here today, my friend. I've been enjoying watching all your podcasts and Facebook sharings, illuminating, expanding people's consciousness. So I'm very honored to be here.
Thank you so much. You have been doing this for a long time. And when I started doing some research on you, you've been teaching and working on your programs for decades now. So I wanted to get a little bit more of an idea of how it all kind of began. What got you into this and how you became the teacher that you are, a little bit idea of your journey.
Well, when I was a youngster, I felt very out of sorts with the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across a TV show, Kung Fu, with David Carradine.
Oh, yeah.
And I also saw Bruce Lee. And I had a very strong past life recollection as a youngster. I was about 11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I was meant to be in the Shaolin Temple, and that's part of my life and my being. And so I pursued that to my parents' chagrin, but I found a school which had an awakened teacher and an awakened teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has been my base. And so I started that when I was a youngster, about 12 years old. And so martial arts has been a foundation of my life. And that led to, because martial arts is about self-preservation, but it's also about self-perfection and self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
So that led me on a journey which I'm still on. There's no arrival,
right,
of continuous learning and opening. And so that's over 30 years, over 30 years ago now.
Amazing. So that's the thing that a lot of people don't talk about. We're working with our bodies and our minds. So when you come at it through martial arts, you're getting that other aspect that a lot of people, I certainly will admit, I have an imbalance that I'm more mind focused and I need to worry and focus on my body. And so what you've created is a synthesis of these two things by taking your martial art knowledge. So I wanted to talk about that. You were able to come to your awakening because of perfection and mastery over your body. Is that correct?
That's part of it. In my body of work, and this is a perennial wisdom, the four quadrants of our being: the physical, the mental, intellectual, if you will, the emotional body, and then our spiritual essence. Mm-hmm. So in my work, I really value cultivating all four: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. That way we become a whole embodied being, and our life takes on a fullness that if we were just focused in one area might not provide.
Right.
So that's the essence: developing and cultivating the totality of our being. And I feel that's the way to have a fullness of joy and freedom.
Right. So if I'm on the path and, hey, I want to find a martial art that can expand my awakening, there's so many choices. When hey, look, there's judo, there's kung fu, there's karate. What would you recommend? I mean, there's obviously benefits to all of them, but for somebody like me that is wanting to get into martial arts to expand my mind and spiritual knowledge, what has been the most powerful for you?
Well, my background is in Kung Fu, but over the last decade, I've dove deeply into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
And this is my highest recommendation, because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you're cultivating the capacity from a martial aspect to go from, if you need to, you can go to the worst extreme to really subdue your opponent, harm them, take them out of existence if your life is on the line. But that's the extreme which rarely any of us will ever have to face.
Right.
And at the very least, minimum, what happens is you can learn how to subdue or control peacefully, calmly a would-be assailant. But that's the martial aspect. What I really love about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that we're cultivating the masculine energetic as well as the feminine energetic of reception, awareness, moving with the flow, not fighting reality. It's very aligned with our Transurfing teachings, where you want to use the minimum amount of yang energy. Only when it's required do we do the action. Most of it has to do with the willingness to have, as we realize in these teachings. So I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I advocate it for children, for women, for men. And the other thing is there's no punching or kicking each other. Right. So you can keep your face nice and pretty and happy, and you don't have to harm anyone. But you can learn how to control your body. And that the last thing I want to say about this, it's a complete, if you will, full body, mind, spirit chess game.
Right.
And anyone can learn it. You can learn it till the end of your days. So I highly recommend. And here's the other thing. You get to feel your soul and mind body alignment immediately. Okay. You get to feel the barometer immediately of how aligned your soul and mind is, or how unaligned it is, and then bring it into alignment.
Awesome. So you mentioned something right there that you have worked on for years, and you've had interviews about, and it's something I need more information and knowledge on. Clearly, I know and I'm aware of this duality that is inside of me in the universe that I've been given. There's good and evil. There's the sun and there's light and dark. There's female and male. And, somebody tells me I need to integrate more female energies into my life, or I need to have more masculine energies. You have worked on this and thought it out and synthesized a little bit. So I'd love to get your perspective of this energetic. We have a part of both of these aspects in us, but sometimes we may go too far in one direction or the other. And as a man, I don't want to let one dominate, but I want to do the right thing. And I want to use these energies to help create my reality. So teach me, help me understand how to balance these energies. Am I explaining myself? Okay.
This is a very great and valuable and valid question for our day and age, especially in the conscious communities. So I'm going to speak about masculine and feminine energies in a very specific way that might not be aligned with the context people are listening. So kindly remove yourself from the way you might know it and hear it in a new way.
Okay.
So what I mean by masculine is the witness consciousness that's in this present moment, the witness to all that's arising, the one who's here, the entity, the divine being, if you will, that is witnessing and experiencing reality. Right. So you're witnessing, you're watching, you're being aware right now. When we're doing meditation, we're learning to be aware of what's arising in our consciousness. The one that's aware, I'm going to label the witness consciousness, for a lack of a better term, or the masculine consciousness. In other words, divine emptiness. You can't actually find it. It doesn't have a location. It's not in time and space. It's transcendent to all form and experience. Okay? Right. That's what I'm sharing is the masculine. Some of us, more men, not all men, but 70% of men, if there's a scale of masculine and feminine, we're more identified to somewhere along this side of the scale. I, myself personally, is about 70% masculine identified. What that means is, on a human level, I'm more drawn to the seeking and the cultivation and the winning of greater freedom. Freedom from the constraints of life, time, business, money, responsibilities, relationships. The masculine within us, since it is witness consciousness at its absolute nature, on a human level, when we forget that we are already free, and so we try to get more free through money, sex, power, and all the things of the world. Okay? Right. And so that's the masculine side. The highest priority and value of the masculine is the search for greater and greater freedom from the constraints of life. Okay? I'll let that land for a second. So now, what's its other side? Within us also, all of us, male, female, regardless of gender, regardless of sexual orientation, LGBT, doesn't matter. We have masculine energetic as well as feminine. Now, what is the feminine? Well, if the masculine is the witness, the feminine is everything else in the cosmos. Light, touch, color, taste, sense, smells, feelings, emotions, tapestries, vibrations, cosmoses, all the things that have time, space, matter, dimensionality, the sea of variations, the infinite variations of reality. Those are all the feminine in the way I'm describing it. The infinite goddess.
Right.
All right. Prakriti in yoga, Purush in yoga is the masculine. Prakrit is the arising of all that's in reality. Right. So from the reality transurfing concept, we would say, put your attention on you, the one you are. Now put your attention on the reality that's arising. Find the midpoint. And that midpoint is the wake up moment.
Right.
It's the periscope up moment. Now, if you're feminine, more feminine skewed, like my wife, you tend to attract our reciprocal in partners. I'm 70% masculine, 30% feminine. She's the very opposite, Suzanne. Right. She's 70% feminine, 30% masculine. What that means on a human level is she is very much drawn to the creation of greater love, more connection, more flow, community, gathering, festivals, becoming one with other, moving through the separation in our hearts and coming to more flow of love and connection. So the feminine priority within our soul is the flow of love. The masculine priority in our soul is the flow of freedom. Now, once we know this, then rather than trying to become 50-50, which is not our true nature, it's find what is your true nature and then start living in the sweet spot of that.
Right. Okay.
So if we're very masculine, right, and we're doing a ton of masculine things all day, goal achievement, orientation, breaking through success, working hard, moving forward, pushing ourselves in life using internal intention, if you will, that's more of a masculine drive. The feminine energetic is where you surrender and you feel for the life you wish to have. And that's when we kick in external intention, which is the feminine form of realization. So does that give you some scope of where to be in this?
So if I was to create a meditation around this to balance two sides, so I wouldn't want to necessarily have one over the other, but I would want to find the balance best for me. How would you go about doing that?
Really good question. So first of all, we have the spectrum within us. For some of us, it's more atrophied. We weren't taught how to be more masculine. Let's say we were a young fellow and we were taught that anytime we're asserting our direction, which is a masculine energy, that no, don't do that. It's too dangerous. Don't follow that. Then we'll have an atrophied sense of direction, which can show up later as not taking risks, not moving forward, procrastination, not feeling confident about who you are and where you want to be.
Right.
If we weren't nourished in the feminine for being seen just as light, as love, you don't have to do anything, beloved. You're whole and complete and beautiful and divine and accepted just as you are without any performance.
Right.
If we didn't get that nurturance, what we can do now is nurture ourselves now. Recognize, and here's how we cultivate. Wisdom is not finding the balance. Wisdom is cultivating the whole spectrum. So you're not stuck in masculine, and this is the old way how men should be. You're not stuck in the old way of how women should be, demure and just receptive and at the whim of the male. That's old school. So to wrap it up, the first stage masculine is all spine, less heart. Our father's generation, perhaps earlier, very stuck in their role. The reciprocal would be the first stage codependent wife. She's stuck in her role. I can't do anything without you. The old Archie Bunker and Edith stereotype, okay?
Right.
That's first stage. The second stage evolution started in the 60s where women said, look, we don't want to be underneath the patriarchal oppression. We don't want to just follow what mankind says. We want to have our own autonomy, our own freedom, our own choice, our own liberation, our own choices, our own money. That's cultivating masculine. So what happened was the second stage feminine, she's learned to develop a balance, masculine and feminine balance. She knows what she wants. She can do business just as good as her men friends, and she can make a killing probably better nowadays, okay? The second stage of masculine is a guy who realizes, I don't want to repeat the errors and the stuck roles of yesteryear. How about I grow my emotions, grow my hair, wear more colorful clothing, get in touch with my emotions? So the second stage of masculine is the typical would be the new age flowing man who's not so rigid anymore.
Right.
Now, here's what happens. They attract each other. The strong, powerful, empowered woman starts to attract the flowing fellow. It's an evolution from the codependency here. Now we have a healthy independence.
Right.
The challenge with that is it dries out sooner or later because there's no passion. And that's when we're ready for the third stage, which is the embodied, the awakened masculine, the awakened feminine, the goddess and the divine God. And that's when you have, for the masculine, spine, resolution, courage, warriorship, and you've got a big heart of love and embrace. And the feminine version of that is a woman who can do business like anyone else, but in her intimacies, she can let go of that masculine shell and love and relish in the erotic pleasures of being a full-bodied woman.
Right.
That's where we're all moving into, I really believe, and I feel, and I'm inviting everyone to go into that.
So is it possible for a relationship to work when two are both masculine or both feminine? Is it, in your experience, what do you think? No?
No, because what happens is if you take two magnets, okay, North Pole and North Pole, and you try to put two North Poles together, they're going to repel. There's only three things happening in relationship. There's, in the arc of attraction, there's repulsion, which happens when you both are in your masculine. Let's go this way, honey. I don't know. No, let's go this way. What do you want to do for dinner? Well, let's go for Italian. No, we did Italian 2 weeks ago. Let's do Mexican. No, I don't want to do. So you're both fighting for direction.
Right. Okay.
Now the other way, so that's repulsion. Then there's neutralization. Hey, what do you want to do for dinner? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know last time. No one is making a decision. So now you're both in your feminine poles of receptivity and no one is saying, hey, okay, let's do Italian, and putting their foot down. Okay, let's do it.
Right. Okay.
So the next way is, so we have repulsion, neutralization, flat, and then we have the creation of erotic connection, loving connection, and that's playing the poles consciously. It doesn't matter if the man plays feminine or masculine, the woman plays feminine or masculine. No one should be playing a stuck role. So for example, in one moment, with my wife, I'll give you an example. I'll surprise her ravishingly. Honey, Friday, 7 p.m., wear something black. I'm taking you on a surprise. And she's like, whoa, really? Where are we going? I'm not telling you. Just be ready. So that's taking the masculine lead in a joyful moment, not of gregariousness, but out of trying to create a mysterious, magical mystery experience for your beloved. So we can play with these energetics rather than push each other away by learning to feel, is my partner more feminine right now? Can I serve them? Can I ravish her? Can she ravish me? Sometimes I love to be taken by my lady, right?
So this thought came up while you were talking about that. Do you think that media, politics, advertisement use these energetics as a form of manipulation? I'm gonna appeal to that masculine or feminine part of you and make you feel like if you take this action, it's going against your energetic. You're too feminine if you do this. You're too masculine. Do you notice this as a form of manipulation?
It's huge right now. I mean, sex sells, and women and portraying women in sexual energies in whatever, holding a beer can or whatever it is. It's one of the biggest manipulations because our primal brain is hooked to look for the sexual energy.
Right.
And those in marketing and business and manipulation, they know how to work that. That's why it's important we find our own groundedness. And through the transurfing principles, we need to release the hooks that are trying to stir us and draw them into their pendulum energetic. The pendulum wants you to be like them. If I spray Axe on me, I'm going to have a horde of women fall upon me. It's not true. It's just not true.
It doesn't work, right?
No, what does work is being in your authentic core, which might be masculine, might be more feminine, and radiating that true core of who you are without any excuse. This is who I am. I am me. World, enjoy me as I am. I enjoy myself as I am. Take it or leave it. That, if you will, caring of the self without caring of what others think, it's easy to say, but it's a cultivation to keep practicing. And as you get better and better at it, you'll realize I don't need to get hooked in to what people think I should be, how I should perform, if I should be more male, more female. Those are all old paradigms. Let it go. Enjoy who you are.
Now you teach leadership. It's a big part of your teachings, right? So are those energies, can they hurt or help your ability to lead? Can you be feminine and lead? Can you be masculine and lead? Obviously those things come up. You've dealt with that, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So in leadership, as leaders, we need to cultivate the whole spectrum within us and to honor, love, enjoy, and acknowledge the spectrum in everyone else of their energetics. Mm-hmm. So here's a practical example in coaching and mentoring and training and leadership. Those, when I'm training people on how to lead their teams, people who have more of a feminine energy, they are much more moved by praise and acknowledgement and appreciation. So my daughter's like that. She's far more feminine in nature. Before I knew this, I'm more masculine. My kung fu training and all that was very severe, very goal-oriented, achievement, breakthrough, obstacle, a masculine virtue, which I grew well in because of my nature. But then I tried to superimpose it on my wife and my daughter before I understood this years back.
Right.
And I was forcing them to grow in their masculine, thinking that's the way everyone should grow. It's not true.
Right.
Not until I learned this, I realized, okay, no, I need to far more with my daughter and my wife, give them much more praise, acknowledgement, not superficial, genuine, real. What are they doing well? As well as my teams. So I feel for their feminine essence and I nourish them. You've done this really well. You did 8 out of 10 in this. What you did well is you did this. To get to a 10, show us more of that. The masculine within us is more moved and grows through loving challenge. Not brash challenge, loving challenge. So with my son, with those on my team who have more of a masculine orientation, I'll say, hey, you did really well here. I'll give them the praise. But I'm not overly praise. I give you 8 out of 10 in this. You did well with this. Now listen, to get to a 10, I'm going to challenge you to do this, and this.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's your demeanor of loving, calling forth challenge, which will inspire the greatness in the masculine. And it's your loving invitation and acknowledgement and praise, which will inspire and evoke the feminine.
I love it. So it's always an honor when I get to talk to someone like you. And one of the first questions I want to ask, because you've been working on this for a long time, and it's always very important. You start to establish a routine. You've seen it, you've helped other people, and in the process, you kind of grab and get and improve your. So I want to break down your full routine. What time you go to bed, what time you wake up, when you meditate, what you eat. I want to get the whole. So if I was to model you, what would be the model? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. I'll share as best as I can because I truly believe that we all are unique flowers in this cosmos.
Right. True.
Everyone. So I can share about some of my routines, but like anything, you got to find, sift, and as Bruce Lee said, absorb what's useful, discard what's not useful, and come up with your own creations that suit your own vibration.
Right.
But having said that, the first thing that I start off with is a dialing in Warriorsage question.
Okay.
And the question is this, and this leads my whole day, my whole week, my whole month, my life. And the question is this, and I'm going to ask everyone not to listen with just the ears, but to listen with your soul. Because it's a question, but it's a challenge and an invitation. And here it is. What must I do today to live, love, and die completely without any regret?
Wow, I love it.
What must I do today? You, me, everyone who's listening in. What must you do today? Not future pace it, not put it, not delay it, not procrastinate. What's today? One action, something action that you can do today that will make you live your fullest? You know that if you die today, it'll be complete. So
Right.
I'm going to ask you that. What is that for you today, my friend?
Right.
Do you have a response? What's something you can do today to live, love, and die complete without
Well,
regret?
I ask that question a lot, and for me personally, it's what can I do to help the most people, right today? What can I do and to be of service to as many people as possible? And I've continued to ask. The more I ask that question, the more answers I get. And it's but do you ask, so you ask that to yourself the moment you
I
wake
do.
up
So I have my
before you get out
journal.
of bed?
So I bring
Right.
it, yes, first thing I do is I bring out my journal, I
Mm-hmm.
take a few moments and I write that down. What must I do to live, love, and die completely without regret?
Mm-hmm.
And then I open up within myself to the answer and
Mm-hmm.
I write it down. And it could be pick up the phone and call my daughter, let her know how much I love her. It could be to follow through with this one communication in business that I know I need to do today, which will
Right.
make the bigger goal more achievable. Okay.
Right.
Whatever it is, whatever the answer is from within the soul that appears, trust it and then follow through. Be willing to have an act on it. And it's the
Right.
action on that which will open up incredible doors. So that's the first step. The next thing I do is I like to do a ritual cleansing. So as I brush my teeth,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a truth floss. I look at where in myself I'm not, that could be living in deeper truth. As I'm brushing my teeth, truth paste.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I live even more truthfully aligned with this? And then as I shower, I do a ritual shower or bath. I let the water pour through me and I just release it all. Then I like to do a physical exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do squats, push-ups, and sit-ups. So one of my old martial art mentors said to me, he says, earn your meal. So before I have my smoothie, I
Right.
earn my meal. So I'll do push-ups to failure. One day it could be 20, next day it could be 50, next day it could be 10, depending
Right.
on how my body feels.
But to
I'll
failure.
do to failure, just
To
one
failure.
time.
Right.
So I don't try to then push it even more. If it's 20 in that moment, great. I'll
Right.
do 20 sit-ups and 20 squats. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Then at lunchtime, I'll do the same before and then at dinner. So I like to earn my meal. I'm training my physiology, my animal body
Mm-hmm.
to be hungry for the food.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And once I've done that, then I dive deep into the study of my reality transurfing.
Okay.
It's one of my, to me, I believe reality transurfing is like Taoism,
Absolutely.
reality manifestation 10.0,
It's an
next
amazing
level.
reality software, and I continue to learn from it. Absolutely. Okay, we'll get to that in a second because I want to keep going. So then, do you meditate?
Yeah, so then I'll take that, I'll read, I'll sit with it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll feel it, and then I'll start my day.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll start my day. And so in terms of scheduling, I'm quite eclectic. One day I could be up till 3 a.m. Next day I could go to bed at 9 p.m. That
Okay.
way I'm a little uncut. I really follow the wave of what's happening in the day. Some days are far more productive in the sense of, like today, I've been meeting with my teams because I've been away for a few weeks in Hawaii. I
Mm-hmm.
came back to my headquarters. I've been and we dialed a few things in. And then after my call with you, I'll be totally released. I'll let go of all internal intention and allow myself to enjoy the external intention that's generating new realities.
Right. And now, do you? So that's something that I have been coming towards. People say you need to have a set time that you go to bed every night, and I've found that that doesn't work for me. I go with the flow a little bit. Some days it's 3 a.m. Some days it's 10 p.m. And I haven't had a problem. But there's that little voice inside of me that says you probably should start setting up a regular routine. But you're one of the first that has said that you kind of go with the flow, right? That
I have
adaptability can be helpful, right?
Exactly. What I do is I've got set appointments, like the one we made for this interview.
Right.
I'll have my set appointments, and for those set appointments, I'm quite sharp. I'll have my phone ring, I'll be very sharp. And as we've learned in the teachings, I like to remove myself from the emotional embroilment of all the things that I have in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go into it, I'll say, okay, time to be impeccable. So lowered emotional connection, lowered emotional importance, but I increase the impeccability.
Right.
So for the degree I lower emotional importance, I increase precision and impeccability. Usually, when we have more importance on things, it's when we get really down to detail. No, I need to do this right.
Mm-hmm.
But I do the opposite. I lower, this is not really that consequential, no matter what my mind thinks.
Right.
I'm going to lower, dial down the importance. But then I increase the impeccability. That magic formula together is really phenomenal.
Yeah. Love that.
And then my impeccability time, I'm precise, I'm clear, I do what I need to do, bookkeeping, accounting, business calls, transactional. Then when I'm done with that, then I release again. I like to do a ritual of.
So you're not carrying it with you.
Exactly.
Right.
And then it allows me then to enter the external reality again, external manifestation.
Now, you've worked with some CEOs. Do you see a common habit or ritual that is from all of them, commonality that shows their effectiveness? Or when you see that they have a ritual, you know they're going to be much more powerful.
Not the ritual,
or
so
habit?
that has not been it.
Okay.
The number one error or challenge that business leaders, CEOs that I've worked with have is overwhelm.
Overwhelm. Okay.
That's the number. There's constant fires of putting down, overwhelm, struggle, constant things that they're struggling with. And so the first thing I've noticed in that is I like to do inner practices, inner processes, inner awakening work, where I look at why are they struggling. And obviously, when we look at the core of struggling, it's attachments to things that are important. It's attachments to things that they must think are serious and valid and real. And it's the investigation of, not that it's not important, struggle is effort that's laced with negative emotion.
Right.
We need effort, right? To pick up the phone, to get on Skype, to work, but we don't need to add the extra units of struggle energy. And those are remnants that we've picked up from our past, from our families of origins. And so that's the sorting process. That's the relinquishing process.
Right.
So how do I help CEOs go from struggle to that? Well, I train them in the ability to let go of the grip of excessive control. And so I'll take pragmatically, I'll say, okay, what are you struggling? What's the tension you've got going on? And I'll get them to, it's my staff, and this guy's having a problem with my staff. I'll go, squeeze your fists in your jaws as you're speaking to me. They'll go, okay, they go, I'm troubled with this. I go, okay, good. Now, after they've shared, they fully have expressed their struggle, then I'll say, okay, breathe. Now take a look. Where have you added way too much energy to this than you really need to?
Right.
And then they go, oh, okay. And then I say, okay, now with your breath and your body, I want you to breathe. And I want you to imagine you're releasing the reins of control to spirit, to the cosmos, to God, to truth. And I take them through that little visualization, and then I get them to do deep breathing, and then I get them to find the humor in all of this. Look, dude, we're gonna die. We're gonna, no matter how you might earn that $5 million business, and 2 weeks later you might pass away. So give it a break.
Well,
so it's really how we deal with it.
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no.
It's exciting to talk to somebody that's taken reality transurfing, and it sounds like you've started applying this even with your clients and put it in your program. And it's obviously rare that we get to talk to fellow transurfers out there that have gone through the teaching. It's a big book. There's a lot of different. Transurfing is not one idea. It's a complex gathering of multiple ideas congruently moving together. So first of all, what is the thing that really stands out that's helped you? And it's a hard question to answer, but with transurfing that has, before you knew about transurfing to now, that has helped take that quantum leap. Does that make sense?
It does. And not just for me, I've got about, my current CEO circle I work with, they all are deeply involved in this study. We studied this together, the Transurfing principles.
Wow.
And some of them have hit 10x, 10 times growth already, and
Right.
all of them are on track for 10 times growth in the next 2 years. And we're talking companies, some of them will be worth billions,
Right.
okay? Are close to that level. Some of them are in, 7, 8 figures, very successful, and they're all like this. And not only that, the leaders, the CEOs themselves are bringing the principles into their teams, into their executive team, and right down to the floor, everyone. So when everyone is moving in that resonant field of learning this, absorbing, it starts to release all the tension struggles, all the pendulum infractions, all the pendulum interferences, and they all start to disseminate and move away. And then what happens is flow states start to occur.
Yeah.
So I've got now about 10 companies experiencing flow state. It's profound. It's even hard to imagine that mainstream America is absorbing, living, and realizing these timeless principles. I'm really excited by that.
It is exciting. I've wondered when it was going to catch and become a corporate thing, and now we know the answer. It's been going on. So, and that is that's the thing that I've had flashes multiple times. This is, if I want to 10x my company, really, I just got to keep going. The path is right there. That it really is. So, is there any? Okay, let's go through some of the ideas with transurfing. Maybe you've added some concepts, mixing them with your knowledge of martial arts and other teaching.
And Tantra is a main piece of my teaching.
Okay.
Sacred sexuality or divine sexuality.
Right. Well, then, okay, let's back out of that, because there is definitely this energy of sexual transformation. Napoleon Hill talks about it, Tantra. Okay, so how do we integrate, maneuver, and understand sexual energy so that we can use it to our benefit?
Okay, great question. So, as I shared earlier, the masculine feminine dynamics, right? One of the things is, and Napoleon Hill goes into this, is to conserve one's sexual energy, be more judicious with the release of it.
Right.
So pragmatically, one's capacity to manifest, to kick in external intention happens when our body system is more filled with life force, with chi, with prana, with mana, with life force. So one of the ways is good eating, much more raw foods, alive foods, fresh juices, less and less processed foods. We all know about this, but it's actually doing it. So that will raise the energy. But also, when you start to feel horny, when you start to feel that sexual desire, don't immediately dissipate it. Let it grow. Now, what I train my men CEOs and women CEOs is to keep a subtle level of 6 to 7. So if you imagine in terms of the ejaculation or orgasm, so there's no arousal, mild arousal, more arousal, lots of arousal. Whenever you're getting, let's say 9 is, wow, okay, you're going to have orgasm, okay?
Right.
8 is like, wow, that's almost uncontrollable, okay? But you still have a little bit of control before you totally let go. 7 is you're really turned on, but you're in your presence, you're in your relatability and contact capacity. Go 6.5, 7. See how long you can keep your sexual energy there without ejaculating. So it might be that, or without orgasming. So within a month, you might orgasm 3-4 times as opposed to a few times a week, as an example. So with not being too tight, because if you get too serious, I will not, then you create again, balancing forces get generated by the excess potential of too much importance on restraining the sexual energy. So what I say is just joyfully, happily, once in a while, reduce the amount of end orgasm and allow more of the energetic sexual energy to run through your body. Enjoy lovemaking, enjoy self-pleasuring, but not all the way to the peak. And then bring it down slowly, open your heart, open the heart while the sexual energy is running through you. Then do your slide creations. Then do your creative visualizations. Then do your imaginative creations of what you wish, what is the world, the realities you wish to transfer your yourself in. But do that after your body is sexually invigorated with life force. And watch what happens. The manifestation magnifies big time.
Is there a difference between the loss of life energy when you're with someone than when you self-pleasure? Do you understand? It's almost sometimes it feels like, and I have no way to prove it, that when you're with someone, it's almost like the energy is magnified. There's not really essentially a net loss of energy, but self-pleasure is a net loss of energy. So it's almost like when you're with a loving partner, you don't even have to count that. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is my experience as well. And it's being consciously aware of how many times you do go into the full release type orgasm.
Right.
And being playful with your partner in that. This time you can make love, you can go all the way, but you might not come to release. Next time you might. The next 2 times, 3 times you might not. The key is being clear with your lover that, hey, I'm turned on by you. It's just once in a while, I'm not going to go to full release orgasm just so I can remain in a state of perpetual orgasmic presence.
Right.
So
Should we
if
use
you don't tell them that, they might feel, is there something wrong with me?
Right.
Are you not turned on by me? But let them know it in joyful communication.
Oftentimes, I think there's a habit. Once we have the release, we immediately want to go do something else. And my knowledge and learning and idea, just as you were saying that, is once we have that sexual release, to stay in that moment as long as possible. And that is where the sweet spot is. Hold each other, hug each other. Okay, we're done. Let's go. I got to go do my thing. It's not really about the release. It's that joint energy that occurs. And if you can spread it out and string, am I just saying that, or is there something?
No, you're on track.
Okay,
That's totally. It's after the release. If you do choose to release 1, 2, or both of you, or many of you, however your style of relating is, that's the sacred time to imbibe in heart connection. Imbibe in your heart. Look at each other. Gaze. Blend your hearts. Dissolve. Merge your hearts. Release the boundaries in those times so that you are feeling the divine love that's living both of you.
Right. I love it. Thank you. So now that you were when you first became aware of transurfing, one of the big things that everybody goes through is, okay, you start becoming aware of the pendulums. You probably already were aware of them on some level, but that knowledge changes your filter of the world a little bit. So you've gone through we all go through a little learning process on how we deal with this, because clearly it is affecting what reality we're creating and what we're doing. So have you come up with ideas or learned things about how you deal with pendulums?
Absolutely. Okay. So the teachings of Transurfing teach us that pendulums are energy systems that are aiming to have us join their trip. In other words, okay? Join their system, become part of that momentum. And they're very provocative. And the more provocative they are, the more they're there to capture our units of attention. Mm-hmm. As a warrior, in the warrior philosophies, Warriorsage philosophies, the most precious thing we have is our units of attention.
Exactly.
And so if you know that everything is vying for your attention, every media thing, every commercial, every radio, every political campaign, there's pendulums going on right now on the earth plane at full force. They're aiming to capture our attention full force more now than any other time in history.
Yeah.
Right? So how I deal with it is, the first thing I do is, and this is the teachings of Transurfing, let them fall through. See how they're trying to suck your life force, like in the Matrix. You are a battery that they're trying to draw life force to.
Right.
So don't be for them. And also, here's the key, don't be against them. Mother Teresa shared this years ago when they asked her, you know, there's this anti-war rally. Will you come to that? She goes, sorry, I won't come to that. But if there's a for peace rally, I'll be for that. Right. The intent is the same at an everyday level, but she was understanding at an energetic level, it's very different to be against war versus to be for peace and unity. Right. So when we can find that discernment and stay awake, knowing, hey, where are my units of attention going today? How can we look at that? At the end of the day, What I like to do is I like to do attention summary. I look to my very right before I go to bed, and I go backwards. And if the left here is the beginning of my day, I'll start with my right and I'll run the reel backward. Oh yeah, that's when my dad really triggered me about that. Okay, how would I do this differently now? Now I would just listen to him more. I'll take 5 more minutes, let him air out fully. Take 1 minute to breathe and then listen to what he has to say. Then I'll respond calmly. Okay, so you correct in your consciousness where you got hooked, and then I go back earlier. Oh darn, I got hooked by that virus stuff on the news, and then I went into that hole on YouTube on it, and that hole on YouTube on it, and oh my God, my mind is filled with virus consciousness. I could die from this. Okay, I got hooked in. Now I'll look at all that virus stuff, coronavirus, this, whatever, and I put it into a ball, and I'll say, okay, I got hooked in there. I release that hook back to where it came, and I let it go. So I like to do an inventory and then correct where I was drawn and hooked into the pendulum machinery, and re-release it so I'm not taking it into the next day. The key is to review, release, so that you're brand new. Your unconscious mind gets to sleep in peace. It's not processing at night. Now when you wake up, you're no longer carrying pendulums from yesterday. You're brand new in your power.
It's fascinating because I have read lectures by Neville Goddard where he talks about revision. And now what you've just said is revision can be used as a technique to deal with pendulums. He said exactly what you said. Go through your day backward. But I never thought about going through and monitoring when I interacted with pendulums and just change my memory of that. So it's almost like I instantly get the energy I gave back. I love that.
We all are responsible for upgrading our own internal software.
Exactly.
No one else is.
That's fantastic. Now, just theoretically, there's no way for us. Do you think some of these pendulums are conscious, separate entities?
Yes.
Not all, but clearly some of them are outside of whatever is running the pendulum. They're conscious, separate entities like egregores, right?
You know, my viewpoint on energy systems, ghouls, entities, these type of things. I don't like to make it, yes, they are, and I don't like to make it, yes, they're not. I look at it from a practical view. Is it drawing my energy and absorbing my goodness and my field of awakening? Is it narrowing me and bringing me to a volatile, angry man? Is it getting me concerned about sex, money, or power? Because those forces will continuously aim to stoke up the lower end of Maslow's hierarchy within you, which is sex, power, and money, survival, energetics. We won't survive. This won't make you survive. Anything that evoke the lower chakras is easy to grab at. We have to find, other practical examples. Gas prices go up and down. I remember my parents, my dad, talking about gas prices. I live in Canada. Whenever I'm visiting Alberta, which is an oil town, and we're talking about oil going, but in truth, can you and I do anything about the gas price?
Nothing.
2 cents, 5 cents up. At the end of the year, it might be a difference in $100, $500. If you're a truck driver, it might be $2,000. It still adds up.
Right.
But all that amount of energy.
Right.
To circle around and talk about gas stations and which gas and gas, it's units of energy that have been trapped and drawn away from you. That's why I've learned, I don't look at anything I can't control. If I can't control what's going on in China right now, I don't bother. If I can't control the price of gas, forget it. What I can control is my income to the place where I don't care. It doesn't even make any consequential difference in my impact if the price of gas goes up $1,000 or dollars more per year or not. How about I focus on making an extra $5,000, $10,000 a year, so I don't have to worry about my mind being trapped by all those people that want to trap.
Right. So I've asked this question of everybody that knew about transurfing. So I got to ask you, because at some point I'm going to gather up everybody's response. Well, I wanted to know your impression and feelings about the plait or Plat. This, for people that haven't or don't know about this, the writer of Reality Transurfing wrote Tufti the Priestess and discusses this idea of an energy cord that is behind our heads that we can feel maybe in our lower shoulders that may give us direct access to reality. And, you know, Carlos Castaneda might have sort of discussed this with the assemblage point. It might be based on old Toltec wisdoms. I just wanted to know what your opinion, if you feel the Plat, if you believe it, or do you think that he was, what is your idea?
That's a great question. So Carlos Castaneda talks about the assemblage point.
Right.
And the way I look at the assemblage point is how we are assembling this infinite source of information into our subjective congealed reality.
Right.
How we assemble that is the assemblage point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Carlos and Vadim give it a location in between the shoulder blades flowing down over here.
Right.
For me, I don't care if it's on the tip of the finger,
right,
the tip of my nose, the tip of my head. To me, the location is all secondary. It's
Okay.
the idea that I am focusing I am breaking the spell of the reality I'm in as a solid, fixed reality. I am consciously saying I am now going into a transpersonal or divine state, or I'm loosening the grip of congealed reality. And to do that, I'm going to visualize a spot between my shoulder blades, or I turn on the flows. To me, it's the same thing. Whether I turn on the flows, whether I visualize a toroidal field, whether I visualize 16 movements through my body, every master teaching has their own way of activating the energy field. To me, that's at a meta level, the how-to is secondary.
Right.
Those are permission slips to access external energy intention. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if I create a pentagram and stand in it.
Right.
It's the same.
It's the same.
It's an excuse that you're using this, saying, do this, and your external intention will get activated.
Right, right.
So I don't place too much credence on the exactness of it.
Okay.
But the mechanism of it, I feel that it's real and true. Right. The anthropomorphization of it into the how-to is an individual thing that can be played with, but you can make it anything. You can make it the flows. If you, in the first books of Transurfing, you turn on the flows and you expand the center to fill the flows. And that's the same as turning on the plate. It's just a different method. So
very true. Very true. So Reality Transurfing is written by a physicist. And so a lot of this teaching is based on some concepts of quantum physics. Do you think that there's behind all of this possibly a physics explanation for it all? And at some point, many years in the future, we will understand the physics behind everything that we're going through spiritually. Do you think that we're leading towards that?
It's intersecting right now.
I feel it.
I mean, it's intersecting right now. I mean, reality creation, in the way Transurfing expresses it, has full-on physics correlations right now.
It really does.
The Bohm speaks about the implicate order, famous, implicate order, we would call the space of variations, where it's an infinite sea that congeals in consciousness once we pay attention to it. But that paying attention to it, usually we have a pre-framed attention imprint around it. So it's an interesting thing. So physics and spiritual, there's no difference. Metaphysics, physics, science. There's only one thing going on, and that's universal law. To the degree that we're able to penetrate, aware, and play with universal laws is our growth process as humans, I believe.
Fantastic. So you teach, you have 3 free courses on your website at warriorsage.com. You teach Warriorsage Abundance, Warriorsage Relationships, Warriorsage Power. I wanted to talk a little bit more about abundance for the person that might be watching this that's in a tough situation in their environment, what they're in now. What, maybe it's the country, or they're living in a studio apartment that's fallen apart, or it's easy for us to become locked in to this environment that we're in now. And a lot of what you teach and a lot of this stuff we're talking about is trying to ignore the actual exterior reality to create another reality. And it's difficult for some people. Everybody has a different idea. So what steps would you advise to ignoring the present to move to a better reality?
That's a really good question. Very valuable. And it doesn't matter if you're just having challenges with money or you're a multimillionaire and you're hit a ceiling. It's the same universal principles. From my experience, we have core beliefs that are not empowering us regarding money. And there's a set of 10 major ones that I'll share, on my website, I'll share with you. But some of them, the major ones are, I'm not good enough.
Right.
I don't deserve.
I get that all the time. I hear
I'm
people.
too old.
Right.
I'm too young. I'm too something.
Right.
Money and spirituality are bad. Spirituality isn't, if I'm spiritual, money is not the highest. So we have all these imprints within us. And so first we got to transform those. And that's why I created this training. It's a 1-day, absolutely free training. There's no cost. There's nothing to buy afterwards. And it's called the Warriorsage Abundance Activation, available at warriorsage.com. And what I did was I created a way to repattern those top 10 limiting beliefs out of our system rapidly.
Right.
All you have to do is download that, go through it. You should do this with a friend. Have 2 minimum, or numbers that are even, 2, 4, 6, 8. When you bring your friends there to do this process together, within 1 day, half a day, you will eliminate all those negative beliefs and you'll start to feel a flow happening around money. The other thing around money that's a challenge is guilt and shame. Guilt. We have done things with our abundance, with money, that we think we shouldn't have, in our own estimation.
Right.
We have failed to do things that we think we should have done that we didn't do regarding money. You got to get honest with that. You got to get honest, because we can do all the re-imprinting. You can have positive affirmations, but if it's sitting on a sea of guilt, those higher affirmations won't take root, because the soil is dirty. It's filled with guilt and shame.
Yeah.
So we got to own, I did screw up around money with that person, with this situation. Yes, there are things I did out of integrity. You got to own it. You got to say sorry to yourself. In prayer, you got to feel, what did I do that I think I shouldn't have done? Journal it. And then look at, how do you think that affected others and yourself? You got to walk that path. You got to say, oh man, this could have hurt them this way. You got to feel, because until you feel what the consequences of your misdeeds were, you won't allow yourself to forgive yourself. Right. And then the next phase is, what would you do differently now? Knowing where you're at now, with the wisdom you've gained on the path, with the humbleness that you've gained and the more alignment with your heart that you're at now, what would you do differently now? And then commit to doing that. You can't just zoom and clear the shame away. You have to face it. You have to face the guilt around it. You got to own it, and you got to make a right by it by changing your behaviors and actions. Just the willingness to do that will open up a portal for great abundance to start to come back to you. It's not forces that are repelling your abundance. It's your own internal guilt and shame that keeps it capped. Absolutely. And only we can do something about it, and we must. Then we can relate with others, because you cleaned up your own act. Now you give yourself permission for greater abundance.
Everything that you've said resonates with me, because I went through a period of time where I could have been much more successful, and I felt guilty. Like I didn't deserve it. Like there's a part of me that said, I don't really deserve that success. And so me going through the process of saying I deserved it and letting go of the guilt was a big part. Now, I have a lot of clients that come to me that number one issue for prosperity and abundance, they're pretty prosperous. They're making pretty good money, but they are deeply in debt. And so their coaching debt is kind of an intricate, because if you focus on something, you get more of it. So you can't focus and visualize paying off your debt because you're just going to be paying off more and more debt. So do you understand the crux of it? How do we visualize, create, and move towards a state where debt is not a part, because debt is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, if it's conscious and you use it in the right way, like as in real estate investing, where you take on mortgages to purchase more homes for real estate investing, it's consciously created debt. Okay, let me give you a little primer on my philosophy of debt. Right. I think it's the number one life force sucker.
Right. I really believe so too.
It sucks the life force out of us. What it does, there's an Akka cord, an energy cord to all that you have debt with, and no matter how you try to overcome, it can suck you. Yeah. Now, why is there debt? Because we've been conditioned by the forces in reality that, and what they condition us to do is to purchase life experiences in the now that we haven't earned yet. Mm-hmm. You see a sale on a TV, you put it on your credit card, but you don't have the money enough because it's Black Friday or whatever, and you gotta get it because you gotta get the best. That stirring up within yourself is what perpetuates the debt.
And then there's guilt about afterwards when you do
all of that. And debt is purchasing from your future to have something now that you haven't earned yet.
Right.
So in itself, it's intrinsically off. But we've done it. So now what do you do when you do it?
Right.
I like to take an aggressive approach of taking a look at how much income is coming in, so pragmatically, and put aside, and this sounds tough, 20%, sometimes 25% minimum of my income I used to pay off debt back then when I had it. Now you say, well, how am I supposed to do that? Sounds too much. Just do it. 5, 10, 20% every month. Make a goal that my debt in the next 6 months, 1 year, it should be more than what feels a little bit comfortable. So when you get your check per month, let's say it's 5K, put that 1K towards, if it's 50,000 in debt, pay it. It's going to feel like nothing. It's not making a dent. But next month, when you do the same thing with discipline, 2,000 will be done. They'll be feeling a little lighter. The next month, you'll be a little lighter. The next month, a little lighter. Once you've gone past 3-4 months of paying down that, there'll be an energy release.
Right.
That energy release is really at a subconscious level, because now you're saying, no, I am in charge. The debt doesn't own me.
Right.
That's what happens after 3 months of paying it off consistently, conscientiously with a big amount. Then be aggressive and like think, okay, I can do the whole thing in 18 months. I can pay it down. Mm-hmm. Do it, boom, boom, boom. When you hit the 6-month mark, you'll hit another energy shift. There'll be new realms of abundance comes in. When you're finally paid it off, if it's 18 months, 24 months, 6 weeks, once you've done it, make a commitment. No more debt, 0 debt. If you need to cut your credit card, cut it. Now, if you need friends, family members to support you in holding accountability, look, I'm going to pay you. I remember years ago, I had 30,000 in debt with my father, not with him, but in my business. And I said, Dad, I got to pay it back. And he says, write me 12 post-dated checks, divide that 30,000 up. And I went, how am I supposed to make that extra? He goes, just do it. I'm going to cash it on the 1st. So of every month. And if you call me and say there's not enough money, then you're going to get an NSF check, and that's going to ding your credit. And I went, oh, so that next month I hustled. I did whatever I could.
Right.
And I made it, and I paid that, and I felt, oh my God, I did it. Next month I did it again.
Right.
Every month I felt like I could do it. And then after a while, I was just making more income because I was used to the extra energy required. Mm-hmm. And then after I had that 6-month breakthrough, then 18 months later, I paid it all off. The whole inner belly relaxed.
So I understand the energy you're talking. Is it the solar plexus?
Yes, solar plexus.
Right. Okay.
All start because that's the power center. Mm-hmm. And debt sucks your power center.
Right.
Once that got finally eliminated, oh my goodness. And then you got to celebrate every month. Yeah, I did it. I brought that down. Yeah, I did it. You got to celebrate and enjoy and ride the wave of success.
But don't spend
is a wave of success.
Right. But don't spend your day thinking about it.
No.
Just put together a plan, pay it, and let it go.
Yes.
The big
Do it
mistake
with
I see
low
people,
emotion.
right? People get worried about the debt and think about it all the time, and that also has certain repercussions.
Exactly. Do it conscientiously, knowing that there's light at the end of that you are creating, not that there is, that you are creating the light of the tunnel. And more importantly, the light is now. This act of paying that $100, it could be this month. That's it. Do your best and enjoy that wave.
Fantastic. Man, it has been a gigantic pleasure speaking with you. I'm sure as soon as we're done, I'm going to think of like 10 or 12 more questions that I could ask. But everybody needs to check out warriorsage.com, Satyen Raja, and 3 free classes, Warrior Sage Abundance, Warrior Sage Relationship, Warrior Sage Power. And there's tons of awesome videos and interviews that you've been doing for decades now. And and it's interesting, once you get your RAS focused, you're going to see Satyen everywhere. You've been in documentaries, and so I was really honored and excited to get a chance to interview you. So thank you so much. Hopefully we can have you on again. And if you're a CEO out there, I'm telling you, if you want to integrate reality transurfing concepts with martial art concepts, contact Satyen, because it's pretty amazing. And we're moving into reality revolution, and this is the kind of stuff that we need to learn, and you're on the forefront of that. Absolutely.
Well, Brian, I am so grateful for our time here. I really enjoyed our interaction and our sharing and our energy. And everyone listening, all my love and embrace to you. We're all divine, infinite beings capable of manifesting all that we want in life. And I'm going to just end with an encouragement to say, yes, let's all arise together and create even a more magnificent reality.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, and welcome again to the Reality Revolution.
Thank you, brother.